I'll call the meeting to order, and I'll invite you to stand for the Lord's Prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
good morning, everyone. I'm not used to seeing that many people in the room.
Everybody situated?
I think so.
Item 2.1, approval of the minutes of the Glades County School Board Organizational Meeting, November 22nd, 2020 at 6 p.m.
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
2.2, approval of the minutes, Glades County School Board Regular Meeting, November 22nd at 6:15.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting on November 22nd.
I second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Dr. Garfield, I think you have something you wanted to do.
All right. Well, we have several students with us today that we are so excited to welcome them. Recently in Glades County, we were invited to participate in the VFW, which is the Veterans of Foreign Wars essay competition. And we had several students from our middle high school participate. And so several of our students, and they competed against other schools in the area. So I'm going to read these, and then we're going to have you come up and accept your certificate. Now, you each also got a check. Some of you got some very large checks, and I appreciate that you've all donated it back for me for my Christmas shopping, right? Is that what you're going to do with the money? Okay. All right. So when I call your name, why don't you come up and just stand up here, and then we'll go from there. So Ada Bruisehead. Ada won third place in my pledge to veterans. Just have, and I'll come over there, Ada, okay? And Ada will be receiving a check for $50. All righty, and next is Yadira Juarez Hernandez, and Yadira was second place, and she's going to be receiving a check for $100. And next is Ben Austin, and Ben won first place, and he's getting $200.
Wow.
Absolutely. I should get a really good gift from you that minute, right? Okay. And finally, but not least, I'm Joellen Erskine, and she won first place, and she's getting a check for $200. So Joellen, here's this. Congratulations. Congratulations. Let's give a round of applause. Congratulations. Very, very important. I read some of your essays, and they were outstanding. So congratulations.
Were any of you in the Christmas program this week? I thought Joellen was. In the Christmas program, the chorus or band?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
That was awesome.
Outstanding.
That was awesome. I remember seeing you on the stage, and I thought I recognized you. Yeah. Good job.
Y'all can stay or you can go. So it's up to you.
But if you leave, you have to go back to school.
Dr. Daly, would you like to say anything?
I just say thank you, God bless, and may you all have a
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, you
You
too.
gotta get these back to class.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Austin.
So, is there more for you to do, or is this now the collegiate? Okay. Okay, and we're gonna move, item number 10.1 to now, the FSW collegiate presentation.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Amanda Larian. I'm from Florida Southwestern State College, where I'm the director at the Henry Glades location. All right, I have a teacher voice, even with a mask. I apologize for the mask. My sister mandates that I wear it so I get to see my nephews. So I would wear a clown nose here if that's what she wanted. So I have Miss Moss with me today and some students as well, but we were asked to discuss and I know you've been calling it the collegiate, but this year the state has decided to change the name of our programs in Moorhaven and in Clewiston. They're no longer called collegiates. They're called early colleges. It's all the same stuff, all the same requirements. But they did change the name, and actually, as I'll mention later, the program in Clewiston and Moorhaven are the only two of their kind in the entire state. They are a very different model from what the state calls now collegiates. In fact, I think we were probably called collegiates prior to now because they didn't know what to call us, because that's all they'd ever seen before. So at other colleges, and I'm not just talking FSW across the whole state, at FSW and other colleges, collegiate programs typically spring up on the campus of one of the college campuses. So it's a building that is on campus like we have at Charlotte and at Lee. So there's a building there, but it's usually like a middle school and forward. And then for the last couple years, the 11th and 12th grade year, those students leave that building and they go to the other buildings on campus for class. And they sit in classrooms with all types of students. It's not an entire DE program. And so what we're doing is very different. What came up when I became director, after about a year of working really hard to get better access in LaBelle and get transportation to our location, I started looking at Clewiston and Moorhaven and felt like unless students had a car, they weren't getting dual enrollment. It was there, it was technically an option, but it wasn't a realistic one. And even if they did have a car, what they were often doing is going to school all day till 3 o'clock, and then driving in for a night class, and then driving home at 9 o'clock. And as you can imagine, as lovely as they are, that's not a lot of sleep. Trying to get home at 10 o'clock, and then get up and do 7 o'clock in the morning, and juggle all those classes. So what I came up with was the idea for a school within a school model. So what we would do is have students go to the high school, take the bus, go to the building that's in their town, but we would bring in all the faculty and all the curriculum. So it goes down on the geographic location that is convenient to students. So instead of having 50 students try to drive somewhere far away, we have 10 faculty who drive to them. So the faculty are FSW, the curriculum is FSW, and we do alter the actual school day, so it's not 5, because there's no way I would get faculty to come in 5 days a week for 50 minutes at a pop. So we make it a very realistic college school day. So typically most classes are 2 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, and they're about an hour and 20. Science and math, sometimes we have to alter that a little bit. So we have been operating in Moorhaven for 3 years. The first 2 years, interestingly, our very first year was the year COVID hit. So that was a wonderful year for a startup. But luckily, because we had been in Clewiston, and because at the time I was working with Beth and Angie Huff, we all just figured it out every day as it came. I think we had like 18 contingency plans. But because we were not SACS approved as at the time a collegiate or early college, we were limited in the number of courses we could offer ground. So what we were doing at that time was 9 classes were ground at the high school, and the other 11 classes, the first year we only had junior level, we didn't have seniors, so we only had 10 total. But the next year when we needed to add classes, what we did is we gave students a mix, so that 9 classes were ground and 11 classes were live flex. So the students were at the school, but the professors were on Zoom. So that was a way for them to earn an AA degree and get all the classes they need. But we are not allowed to put more than 50% of the program ground until we're approved by SACS. So that's what we did for those first 2 years. This is our first accredited year, the 2022-2023 school year. So this is now officially an early college program. But we had those other 2 years of kind of refining and building a little bit. So basically, in your first year, we have 17 seniors that are there from the previous year, where it technically wasn't an accredited program. Although, when I say accredited, that just means that it was a collegiate and we can offer ground. All the coursework is accredited, of course, through FSW. But this year we brought in 21 juniors, so almost full in the first year. And I have to say, looking at all the school districts that I work with, 21 juniors from a class from Moorhaven is stunning, considering your class sizes are not as big. That's practically a third of a graduating class getting college education in 11th and 12th grade. So that's super impressive that the students tested ready. So every year we offer 20 courses. We have 5 each semester for juniors and seniors. And in terms of benefits, they have highly qualified educators. So every faculty member that comes in the door either has a master or multiple masters or PhD, a terminal degree in their content area. It's also an award-winning program. In 2019, the concept of what is now the only 2 early colleges in Florida, we won the Florida Department of Education's Chancellor's Best New Promising Practice in dual enrollment. So it was recognized as a concept that is new and working well and reaching students who are geographically isolated from actual college campuses. All of the credits transfer to Florida State colleges and university. Our eventual maximum for juniors and senior classes are 27. So it is a cohorted program. We can't offer every class that we offer in LaBelle out at the high school locations in Clewiston and Moorhaven. So there is a series of progression courses that the students take together. In Moorhaven, you guys have 1 cohort, so the kids get really close because they get to have all their classes together. In Clewiston, we mix them up a little bit because they have 2 cohorts. But that is kind of a snapshot of the program, how it's running as a fully accredited program. But I wanted to emphasize that we don't just kind of shuttle classes out there to the high school. We really want to make sure students get the full college experience. So before they ever begin attending, we bus them to our location, we do an orientation, we do fun events, we feed them pizza, even though we can't get that many students in our building and have tables, so they have to put it on their lap. They're pretty good about it. Actually, I think that was the day we also did a Build-A-Bear activity, so they could put their goal inside their Build-A-Bear. And we do that for both Clewiston and Moorhaven so that they feel connected. Also on that day, we make sure to talk to them about all the college services. So students in this program, while they are definitely Moorhaven students, they are also now FSW students. They get all the free athletic games and events. They get tutoring, they get counseling, they get care support services, adaptive services. So all the same services that any college student would get, they also have that, and we want to make sure that they feel connected to the campus. What we want to make sure, and this is part of the beauty of this program, you're taking students who have never been to college. Many of our students are first generation. No one in their family, immediate family, has gone to college. We wanna make sure at the end of this 2 years, they're a senior, they actually get their college AA before they graduate from high school. We wanna make sure when they get that AA, they're probably gonna go out into the world and go to college somewhere. We wanna know that when they hit the ground there, they're gonna be successful. So we don't wanna just get them through our program, we wanna make sure that we've scaffolded them to success for a bachelor's, master's, and beyond. So that when they hit those other campuses where it's not a cohort, it's not, we don't have Miss Moss helping them through, watching them, double checking that they are working when they should be. We wanna make sure that they can take that ownership, and we've been really excited to see that they can. So we try to make sure there's as much interaction back and forth. It's not just, oh, these are classes happening far away. Also, Ms. Moss works really hard to create a quality learning environment, and Beth provides amazing support in terms of equipment, and that is no easy feat in the middle of COVID, because we didn't even know what we needed when we needed it, but then when we needed it like immediately. And you guys know, if you were on this board during COVID, that was very difficult. So the students really have a great learning environment. They have a full college level lab at Moorhaven Middle High School. So they have the same microscopes our students would get at Lee campus, the same equipment. And then we FSW works to provide some of the disposable items for labs. But they are getting the same quality of equipment, and honestly, I think some of your learning environment might be even a little nicer than my sad little building in LaBelle that looks like a bunker. Our students don't have a coffee bar. So they have a great place to come to school every day and learn. And one of the things that we do to scaffold them, one of the secrets to this program, I'm not gonna lie, the students come on the bus at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they're there all day. So when they are not in a college classroom, they are doing homework. If we could just do that with every college student, 7 hours a day, lock them up and make them do homework before they get to go home, GPAs would be lovely. So for their first year in 11th grade, they do have to be there all day, every day. However, as seniors, to scaffold them and give them a taste of responsibility, if they earn a 3.0, they can come before their first class, and they are allowed to leave after their last class, which is usually still around 2 o'clock anyway. But on Friday, if they don't have class and they maintain their grades, they may not have to come in unless we have a special event planned. So kind of working to getting them towards that total freedom that they're gonna have when they go away to school. So, and again, if that 3.0 doesn't stay, then they get to be there all day. But if they don't have a car, they have transportation. And actually, some students opt to be there all day, even if they don't have to, because they want to get their work done, where they know they're gonna have internet, where they know they're gonna have resources. So this is our junior and senior class as of last year, right? So again, I'm coming out and visiting and talking with them. So this is last year's group. I haven't been out yet this year. I don't think I've been out, or at least not. Oh, look, she's ratting me out. Okay, she's keeping track. We've had several vacancies, so I'm currently covering about 4 full-time jobs at my location. But hopefully soon that'll end, and I'll be able to get out a little more often. But Ms. Moss actually invited some students to talk to you for a second about what their experience is. So I'll let her talk about some of the things that she does day to day, and then introduce them.
All right, so our typical day, for my juniors anyways, is they come in at 8 o'clock. Most of them do ride the bus. I usually check that at the very beginning of the school year. I keep track, okay, who rides the bus, who has their own transportation. There's maybe 5 kids that are juniors that have their own car. So most of our kids do ride the bus. So if we didn't offer this opportunity, most of them would probably not get the chance to do this. They come in, they get their breakfast. Some of them will eat breakfast in the cafeteria, some of them come on down to the room. They'll go to their classes during the day. The building, if you haven't seen it yet, we have 2 classrooms. with smart boards, and then we have the science lab that also has a smart board, but then we have what we call our community room, which is where I'm at, and it's the bigger room in there, but that's where the kids, when they don't have class, they come in there and they sit and they work, and I'm in there with them. I do a weekly grade check every Friday. They meet with me one-on-one. We sit down, we look at their grades, we talk about how things are going. I also try to teach them independence and how to advocate for themselves. So like if they're having a problem or if they have questions, my goal is to make them independent. So I'll sit down and be like, okay, you need to talk to this professor, right? So what do we do? What are our first steps? And we learn how to write a good email, and we learn how to go to an office hour and visit with the professor when we need it. So I teach them those kind of things as well. For lunch, a lot of times they have their lunch break. They will go to the cafeteria and eat and visit. Sometimes they go and get their plates and they come back and they keep working. So that's completely up to them. I stay down there the whole time. So, but they are with me, the juniors, from 8 to 3 till the bell rings every day. And the seniors, like I said, I check their grades too. They meet with me weekly. They know they have to keep their grades up at any point in time. If I don't feel like they're getting the job done and doing what they need to do, they know they can lose the privilege of leaving for lunch or not coming in on a Friday. Like if I have one whose grade drops, and I'm like, okay, I don't think you're putting forth the effort you need to come stay in here with me on Fridays. So I'm there to kind of guide them and hopefully teach them some independence as well. And that's basically what our days look like, but we're pretty much together all day, juniors and seniors in one room, so they do become pretty close. I do have 2 kids with me today. One is a senior that graduated last year, so she was one of our first to get in the group with her AA. Rosemary Rubio, she was also our salutatorian, and she attends FSU. Hayden Davis is a junior in our program. I was going to try to have a senior that's in there now, but they are actually this morning as we speak taking their state civics literacy test. So we're hoping on that one. So Miss Rhymes has given that to him this morning. She's already texted me about 4 times because some things weren't working, but hopefully that's all going good now. So I was going to try to have one from each group, but unfortunately, like I said, they had the test this morning. So I'm going to let Rosemary come up, just kind of tell you about her experience with the program and how she feels about it and everything.
Well, good morning, everyone. Like she said, I'm Rosemary. So just to start off, right off the bat, like one of the main things I noticed from this program was how different high school is from college. And I know it's like one of those things, it's like, well, duh, I mean, college is obviously harder. But this program like really prepared me. I mean, I literally got the college experience in high school before I actually left to college. I had the professors who would come in, they'd give their lectures, they'd give their homework, their quizzes, their tests. And from that, I learned how to keep up. I learned how to properly take notes, how to study. I learned how to be organized, time management. I mean, with these professors, when they say something's due, like it's due. It's not like in high school, you make up an excuse and then it's like, oh, turn in tomorrow. It's not like that at all. But another thing I realized from this program was like, if you are in this program and you come in your junior year and you do what you're supposed to do, it's like set up for you to graduate with your AA, which is honestly like such a big thing. And I didn't even realize till I went off to Florida State, go Knowles. But I'm in a program there, and there's roughly, I want to say almost 600 students in this program. And at one point they split us up between students who had their AA and students who didn't. And I kid you not, there was literally like 33 of us. And they put us in a room smaller than this one. And that's when I realized like it really is such a big deal to graduate high school with your AA. And not only that, especially like coming from a small town, like since we were in a small group, they had us to introduce ourselves. And everyone, they're from like Orlando, Miami, Jacksonville. And then it was my turn and I was like, oh, well, I'm from Moorhaven. And I literally sat down with the girl next to me, she's like, where's that at? And I was like, oh, down south, we're like Joey. But, obviously coming from a little city, you're kind of at a disadvantage with the resources urban cities can provide their students. So I feel like this program really helped level that playing field. Like me as a small town student, I feel like it gave me the opportunity to really do something big. And I just want to end off by saying that there's like not a day that goes by that I don't think about how this program really helped and prepared me for the journey that I'm currently on at Florida State.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Moss.
And now we have Hayden. So Hayden's one of our juniors, and I will say she's also an athlete, so we have learned has been a challenge. So I've got some athletes in our junior program, so for them to learn to balance sports and college is definitely a learning experience, but that's what she is hoping to play softball in college, so it's definitely given her an idea of what that is going to be like as far as keeping up with both and balancing both, because she does the whole travel ball and practices during the week over in Jensen Beach and tournaments on the weekend, and she's done a great job. Her grades are wonderful, so I'm super proud of her.
So to start off, I'm going to say pretty much, well, not everything that Rosemary said, but I am going to start off with the fact that going from high school to college is a huge change, and for me, I probably never did any homework in high school, and I still pass. I don't really know how. But so you do have to do the homeworks, even the little homeworks that you think really don't mean that much. And so basically, like, my day is I go to certain classes, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we only have 2 classes, and one of them is in the morning, and we get out at 9:45, and then we don't go back until 1. So that entire time, I really try to utilize it, and most of the time, on Tuesday, I'd get everything done that I could. And so because it was a struggle for me, since Tuesdays and Thursdays, I would also go to practice, and it's almost 2 hours away, so I wouldn't get home until roughly around 12. I wouldn't get into bed, so it'd be pretty late, and then I'd have tournaments on the weekend, and it was really stressful for me. But this program, a lot of people need to realize that if you have the opportunity in high school, it is something that you should utilize, because not only is it like free college, it's some kids are not going to go off to college after this, whether it be funds or just because they don't want to. So it's a really big deal to graduate with your AA. And I think that I really like the fact that we can sit there, and I do have Miss Moss when she is getting on to me because I'm not paying attention, or I'm not doing what I need to do, or not doing work, or being lazy, and I'm just like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. She gets on top of us, and she makes sure we do our work, and she keeps our grades up, so it is nice to have her there. But like I said, it's free college, and Miss Moss stressed to us at the very beginning of the year that just because it's free doesn't mean we should work any less, because we need to utilize this, and we need to realize that it is a big deal and that it does matter. So for me personally, I get really stressed, and after I just passed my first semester, it's just like a big weight taken off of me. But at the end of the day, before I started the program, I was like really telling my mom, I was like, I don't know, I don't really think I want to do it. It's going to be a lot of stress. And she's like, just do it, you'll enjoy it, and it's going to be a bunch of weight taken off at the end of the year when you graduate with your AA as your senior. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I started, and now I'm here, and I passed my first semester, and she's right. I do realize at the end of the year, or at the end of my senior year, when I graduate with my AA, it is going to make me feel a lot better about myself and make me feel like, oh, wait, I can actually do it, and I'm going to be okay when I go off to college. And one more thing I'd like to add, though, it's another benefit as being a student athlete. I've gone to many camps, college camps over the summer, where there's a bunch of college coaches. And actually this fall, I was just there, was it this past weekend? This past weekend with my uncle, and I've talked to a lot of the coaches because I want to know what kind of bachelor's programs they offer. And they're like, well, you're still in high school, why are you asking that? And I'm just like, well, because I'm going to graduate with my AA, and they look at me and they're like, oh, well, that's like really good, because when they look at it and they want to offer me a scholarship, it's like, you're less money, like I can go and spend that money on somebody else because you're going to be less money in the end. So as a student athlete, it does benefit you tremendously because the coaches really love it, especially how my GPA looks and how it just looks on me as a student, not just an athlete, because student does come before athlete. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. The program is wonderful, and I really enjoy my days with Miss Moss. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one thing I would point out that's also really unique about this program, if you imagine before students only had the option to do dual enrollment and they were doing a lot of driving, there would be no time for extracurriculars. There'd be no clubs, there'd be no athletics. We intentionally, to the best of our ability, design our programs so that classes don't end right at the end of the school day. They're back a little bit if we can. That way students aren't missing a lot of college coursework if they have practices, but they can be involved in clubs, activities, extracurriculars. For 11th and 12th grade, though, they are not taking high school classes. For the most part, we do have a very few exceptions. I know criminal justice, they have to technically be enrolled in order to compete. So that is one little caveat that we've worked out with FSW. But they are getting dual credit. Every class they take in this program counts for high school credit. That is a class they don't have to take at high school, and a course you don't have to run with high school faculty. And so working in conjunction really allows them to get all the benefits and not have to make those choices between sports, extracurriculars, and trying to do college. And also, again, I would say this is very specific to Henry and Glades counties. Nowhere else do we have faculty who will directly communicate with the liaison and say, hey, this student, they're working really hard, but they need some extra tutoring. That doesn't happen anywhere else. And that kind of communication and support is really key to continuing to help our students. And that is why we have very high performance. This was last year, we did a 3.0 challenge. And the challenge was if they earned a 3.0 in their fall semester, that they would get their Players Club jacket, their FSW jacket. And again, with only, at that time we had 17, and what was our other 13? 17 and 13, this is our junior and senior group. Almost every student earned a jacket and was getting that 3.0. So we set the bar high. There's lots of rigor. When you guys say it's not the same as high school, we call that rigor. And that's tough love coming from your college faculty. So in terms of results, on average, and this is college-wide at FSW, students, dual enrollment students who take 9 credits, so that's only 3 classes. Our students are doing 5. They're doing 15 to 16 credits. On average, the success rate across all of FSW is 93%. Last year, our students at Moorhaven who took more coursework, and they have to take all of the difficult gen eds, not just, some electives, right? Their success rate was 96.5.
Awesome.
I wasn't able to get an average GPA from FSW college-wide. One of our vacancies is our director of dual enrollment, but luckily I try to cover a lot of bases, so I don't think you guys have felt that out here from FSW, but I guarantee you your GPAs are higher. Our students in Moorhaven perform really well with the support and the focus. I think part of this program really gives them the ability to focus. In general, students, and this is from all across Florida, it talks about finishing their 4-year degree. So on average, students who did dual enrollment finished their 4-year degree in significantly less time than students who didn't do dual enrollment. Now imagine the best average we have here is 2.5 years of getting their bachelor's. Most of these students that are in this data didn't earn their entire AA. Your students have earned their entire AA. Much like you were saying, it might just be 2 more years or less to get that bachelor's, depending. So not only do they earn that degree more quickly, but they have a proven track record of success in college. They are completers. These are students who are not going to come back after a semester or 2 unsuccessful because they know what it takes and they have the confidence that they know they can do it. All right, extended opportunities, and this is exciting for you, although it sounds like you have a lot of other options as well. So you do earn your AA in 11th and 12th grade, and students and families aren't paying for that, but we do know it's not technically free. We're going to talk about that in a minute, because I know you guys know that there's a cost with it. But this year, because we are now an accredited early college program, the first year that we started in Clewiston, a year later, I was able to ink a deal with FGCU. So actually every single accredited year between Clewiston and Moorhaven has this deal. That if you get your AA with a 3.0, and I'd just like to go back to those jackets. Almost everybody has a 3.0. If you complete your AA with a 3.0, you are automatically awarded admission to FGCU and almost a full ride for 3 years.
That is amazing. That is a
These
life
students
changer.
will earn
Yeah.
bachelor degrees without paying a penny. And I mean, and now this is where I'm gonna get emotional. When I first started teaching 17 years ago, I was the first full-time faculty member they hired in LaBelle. My office was a picnic table outside, half underneath a roof. And I used to travel to Immokalee, Moorhaven, and Clewiston to teach, in addition to teaching at LaBelle. Now, if I tried to get a faculty member to go to 3 campuses, I'd probably be murdered. But when I was doing it, I could go to all 4. And when I used to come out to Moorhaven, I always knew that those students were gonna be the kindest and most polite. One time I said to Julia Perry, "You always knew a Moorhaven student." She said, "Why, we gotta get somebody in line?" I said, no, because they're so great. they're so nice, you can pick them out. And when we had to stop doing those one-off classes at night, because they just couldn't get the enrollment, because there wasn't like an organization to it, it hurt me. And when I became director and I saw how we were able to get LaBelle students to our location, and then Clewiston, I knew we had to get Moorhaven. The idea that a student, where they live, that they wouldn't have access to quality education just eats at me. And we can now say, in both counties, geographically distant students have the same opportunities. And like what you were saying, Rosemary, to be able to stand up in a room and it's all major cities that have that opportunity, and Moorhaven is giving your students a chance at something that could be hard to come by in Fort Lauderdale, depending on where you live. You know, in this area currently, as of 2 years ago, less than 2% of the population has a master's. Less than 18% has a bachelor's. And it's about the same in Hendry County too. We're gonna change the education level of these counties. In 5-10 years, we're gonna look back and they're gonna have to put an asterisk, and they'll have to include Moorhaven School District, Glades County, and FSW, and that'll explain why these numbers look so different in just 5 to 10 years, because of the opportunities that we're giving students. And the FGCU scholarship is just, makes you feel like Oprah when we got to announce that for the first time. And the first year, many students from Clewiston went, and after that, many still went, but a lot of them were getting scholarships, full rides to other schools as well. And I know we're starting to see that with Moorhaven as well. This is our first graduating class. By the way, we do let men into the program. But this year we only had one, and he did not attend graduation. This year I think we've got slightly, we have more than one. I can say that. We're getting a little more equitable. You know, they have to send one out first to see how it goes. But I don't think Hector was too upset about going to school all day with all those girls. And we also have an award night at our campus where we celebrate graduates, but also faculty nominate students for basically students who show the most outstanding performance in composition or mathematics. And several Moorhaven students won awards, and some were also inducted into our honor society. So this is from our grad night and award ceremony. I think it was a Cat 1 that evening. It's always the windiest night of the year. But we were making it happen. All right, so I know you want to talk about funding. And actually, before I go here, let me give you a number. And I'm going to ask you to keep it in your mind, and it won't be hard because it's going to sound scary, probably. What is the tuition that the board is approving? So because we are a fully accredited program and all coursework is now ground, state legislature mandates that we charge by class, not by credit and number of students. So right now we're somewhat close to getting fuller capacity. 17's not quite there, but that was in a year that that's a leftover of a year that we were not accredited. We're at 21. Remember, our max cap is 27. So this semester and moving forward, the tuition bill by class, the cost of faculty, and that is without travel and benefits and other things that the college is covering, but that's going to be around $68,000. And that does sound like a big number. So when I say keep that in your mind, you guys are like, no problem. I will never forget it. And there are books and incidentals, but we're very lucky that our faculty, I think right now we have 3 faculty teaching out of old editions, because we have class sets and there's no reason to make you guys buy new ones if the old ones, everyone's gonna have the same pages. Our faculty are like, oh cool, we don't have to change the book. So we do things like that. So there might be up to $10,000 of incidental costs with some electronic programs or other things that are renewable. So 78, that's a big number, I get it. But let's look at the funding. All right, so these are numbers that were provided to me from Glades County. The FTE per student for the year is 4,328. And I know that other things need to come out of that FTE, but just to spin that number out, right now we have 38 students in the program, so the FTE for those students is $164,000. That covers the cost of the program. And gives some money to keep the electric on, and we can turn the air conditioner. You guys don't mind if we don't have air next year? See, they're very flexible. That gives a little bit of wiggle room, and again, that's with 38 students if the program's not full. If the program were full at 54 students, the total FTE for those students would be $233,000. The price of the program doesn't go up. It's that 78 per semester. Okay? So that is definitely covering the cost of the program with FTE for those extracurriculars, the electric. But you are not hiring and running classes in 11th and 12th grade for these students. And I know Ms. Moss has brought up that it could be difficult to get highly qualified individuals in biology or upper level math. I'm an English major, so we're all at Barnes & Noble or whatever, you can get one of us. But it is hard in those areas, so you're getting highly qualified educators and you're not running classes because these students are in our classes. Other fun news, for every AA that is earned, and last year that was 13, the state gives bonus funding of about $1,300, $1,298.5. So with that bonus funding, at 13 students last year, that's almost $17,000. Add that to the pot of money that these students are bringing in. If we were full and we were graduating 27 students each year, right, that would be $35,000. So there is funding coming back into the school with FTE bonus funding. And I know this is a lot of gobbledygook at the bottom. The state also provides a percentage of money for every student that earns an A, even if it is not the full degree yet. Last year we had 176 A's. One thing I didn't include up here because it's very hard, I think, to dig into, but you can find it on the Florida Department of Education website. You also get a, when you're looking at your school grade, there is a series of points that are awarded for any number of students who have successful completion of college courses. And that's C or better, all right? So, and again, our percent of success is 96.5. So all of those classes are also increasing your school grade as well. And we know that's tied to funding. Again, I'm an English major, so I have no idea what that formula looks like. And I did not, luckily we got some of these numbers from the kindness of the county. But all I did was put the number of students and then hit times on my cell phone to create this for you. Thank goodness. But, so the program obviously is amazing. I know we want these opportunities for students, but I know that calculation weighs heavy, but the program does pay for itself. And it is an award-winning program that you are offering students in Glades County. It is a jewel in your crown. And I imagine, because we saw this in Lewiston, students are possibly going to come from out of county to transfer into your schools. We get those questions because they hear about this program and it is so highly functioning and valuable. So Support and community, these are some more shots of the very serious work going on there for Christmas parties and food events. And actually, one thing that just made me melt a little bit, so these bulletin boards that are up here, that's a big calendar that the students fill in every week to help remind each other of what's due, because it becomes a band of brothers, right? They want everybody to pass and get that AA. So I love that community that the students create. And Ms. Moss has done an excellent job. So if you have any questions for me, I know we took a lot of time, please let me know. If you have any questions now, I'd be happy to field those, as long as you don't want that mathematical formula for the school points. But I'm also always available by email as well, and you can get that from Beth. Don't call our phone numbers, we're redoing that, you'll never talk to a human. I think you have to press 13 to get LaBelle campus, possibly. But, any questions?
No, I'm just thankful that we are able to do this. I'm thankful for the work that went into it to get it started and the work that continues to happen. This is, man, what a blessing to those kids.
And
All kids.
I'm sorry. I totally agree. It's an awesome program. We're blessed to have Ms. Moss working with it and the opportunity for the kids. I guess I'm gonna be the one to bring this up because we've discussed it so many times, some of us have. The lack of the ability for those students to take electives. I don't understand why, if, for example, one of the collegiate kids wanted to be in chorus and it's offered first period, why they can't do that and then report to their college classes. What is the reasoning behind that?
So they can't be enrolled in a high school class, with the exception of, we've gotten FFA as an exception, because you can't compete and earn scholarships. So that's one thing I've gotten FSW to bend on. There is a state designation between dual enrollment and what they call early enrollment. And these students are early enrollment. They can't be enrolled in a class. They can sit in that classroom and do everything they want to do in there.
And I'll just say, we
Like
have
band
some-
or chorus.
I have
They
some that go
can-
to band or
Mhm.
chorus. They're just not enrolled in Mr. Browning's class.
Yeah.
But when they have, say he has his band third period, and that's on the Tuesday, Thursday, I have some kids that, I have one that goes down and does the drums. And so he's not enrolled in his class, but he's still part of the band, and he still goes down and practices the drums and stuff. We have FFA kids, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings, their class does not start till 8:50. So they get there at 7:50 in the morning, and they go to Mr. Sharp's room and do any FFA stuff he wants them to do, and meet with him. And then they get down to the room for their 8:50 class. So they're still getting to be, if they wanted to sing in chorus, what we do is they're not enrolled in the class because they're technically enrolled in the college classes. So like you said, but early enrollment or early college
admission,
they can't, I'm still trying to figure out, learning all of it too, the early admission.
And we keep changing all the names.
It's like they're a full-time student, they're a full-time college student, so that's why they can't take any high school classes, so they're not enrolled, but I still let them, I work with the teachers and say, okay, Mr. Browning, this is when he's free this semester, or does any of this time work for you? And he'll be like, yeah, you can sit in this time and this time, and then that kid just knows to go at that time. And then he also knows that if he's got something seriously, or he's wanting to study for a test, he'll tell Mr. Browning, Mr. Browning, I'm not coming today because I want to study for my test. And so that's the same way with the FFA, when the kids go down there. I just meet with Mr. Sharp and be like, okay, these are the days and the empty spots they have, if you have something you want them to come down and do. And then the kids are real good about contacting them again and saying, I'm going to stay in the room today, I got a test today, and I want to study. So as far as getting to do that kind of stuff, they still get to do it, they're just not enrolled under their name. They're not getting a grade from Mr. Browning for chorus.
And that's
actually,
fine.
that's a state requirement or regulation, and it's actually meant to protect students. What we would never want to see is a student in 5 college classes and 4 high school classes. Because how on earth would that student be successful, right? We know that that's not a workload. Either they're not really doing real work in something, right? So the state has regulated that if you are in 4 or more high school courses, you are early admission, you are not to be taken, and it's only offered in 11th and 12th grade by the state. and you're not to be enrolled in high school classes, but we want them to have those opportunities.
Okay, so I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't aware that you had some students going to.
They do, they go to
ag
ag
and
FFA,
music,
they'll go
so.
down to music, and like I said, they play sports, I've got folks that play sports, so, like Hayden plays sports. So we try to let them be as involved as possible with the school stuff. If there's a pep rally on Fridays, they go to the pep rally on Friday.
And if Hayden needs to leave early to go to a softball game, it's.
That is, what we do is they learn to communicate, that's the whole thing we talk about. They learn to sit down and way ahead of time, like they know not to do it the day of, talk to that professor, and we have not had a problem yet. Those professors have been very good about, okay, you know, as long as those kids, you know, send the email, talk to them about it, this is what I do, you know, I need to leave 30 minutes early, is that okay with you? Like, they don't say, I'm
What
going to leave.
can I do ahead of
What can I do
time?
ahead of time? So the kids learn to, you know, talk to the professors, and we haven't had, you know, one of them yet, because the kids are like, you know, they've learned. We ask way ahead of time, we learn to, you know, I don't do it for them. I don't, you know, I tell them when they know, I'm like, okay, what should you do? They're like, I gotta email my professor and talk to the class. I'm like, yep, so they learn to send a nice email asking, is this okay? What can I do? You know, may I have to do this? And
let
it's
me-
always been okay, and yes, that's
Let me
fine.
tell you, the synergy of this is unbelievable. You know, as college faculty, it's a very different animal than high school faculty. They have a union. They're very delicate butterflies. We love them. But our faculty are so down to earth and so willing to work with students. No faculty, I think, at any other location would be knowing the high school football schedule or the high school softball schedule, but ours are really understanding and work with students as long as they do what they should do ahead of time. Not add, oh, I missed class last week, did we do anything? You know, the lovely question we always get. So no, we work, and if I'm gonna try to change the class time, I'm calling Miss Moss and like, how would this affect other things? We've really worked to yin and yang that schedule so that as much as possible, students have all the options.
The professors have been awesome too. I'm gonna tell you about Professor Reinking. I told her so she could let the dean know. He was our government professor for our kids, and they're taking their test today. Well, he actually came in on 2 Fridays when you didn't have to. He scheduled 2 Fridays and came in and did study things with the kids. He did cahoots with them. He went out, gave a practice test. So he came in on 2 different Fridays and did that with them to help them be ready for their state test from the state.
And gave all his materials to your, what grade?
Yes, to Miss Odom, your government teacher
For
from the high school.
non-government
He
students.
emailed it to me, everything he used. He's like, you know, because I asked, I said, if you could give that to me to give to our high school teacher, he's like, absolutely. So he emailed me the stuff he had, and I sent it to Miss Odom. So the professors really have been great and really connect with the kids. I mean, I'll tell you, some of them make a big difference with our kids emotionally as well. I'll tell you, Hannah is extremely attached to one of them, Professor Harrington. I will tell y'all that Hannah, when I took her to the grief counselor, one of the things they said was for her to write in a journal. Well, looking at a blank journal, Hannah did not have any luck with that. But when she took Professor Harrington's humanity class, and she would say, okay, you have to pick a picture, and I want you to write about it. Everything Hannah wrote about, the picture, they had to pick a song, they had to pick all these different things, because Professor Harrington would tell me about them. Hannah used those and talked about Easton.
Wow.
And so she made that connection with that Professor Harrington, and we're actually gonna have coffee over break together, the 3 of us, so.
That's Professor
That's her.
Harrington up there on the top
She
right.
is amazing with our kids, so compassionate, and has made a big difference with some of our kids. And with Hannah, it was amazing.
And on the flip side, let me tell you, trying to hire college faculty and telling them that they have to drive 30 minutes out in the middle of nowhere, a little bit, in beautiful God's country, we'll say, and they have to teach some classes at maybe 8 a.m., and it's going to be in a high school with a bunch of high school students. There are faculty that wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I always say, just go meet our students, and within weeks, they're like, I love my classes at the early college. The students are so sweet, they're so nice, and they talk, they answer questions, they participate. Because sometimes in a non-dual enrollment classroom, you get the dead fish look when you try to ask questions. they immediately love working with these students. So we've created like a little education utopia for sure. It's a great balance.
I would just like to say just a couple of things. We are very blessed to have Miss Moss. And I think Marcy and Hayden both, Rosemary, I'm sorry. Marcy, do you ever, Rosemary, do you ever get that? Okay. Is that part about advocating for yourself. And that is so huge in a brand new college student, and for any student, but just going and how to make an appointment with your professor and how to have those conversations. And that, I wish all high school students had that, not just the collegiate program. So that's something we need to work toward.
We do too. We'll help you with some curriculum.
That would be wonderful. That would be great. We would accept that.
Yes, I'll come do workshops myself.
That would be awesome. And the other thing is just the weekly grade check and making sure that, I know Miss Moss, I've been over there and I've seen Miss Moss, I've seen her go and talk to students and say, you know, your grade isn't high enough, or, you know, I've watched her, and I've had other parents from other collegiate programs say to me, oh my gosh, I've heard about how she takes such an interest, a one-on-one interest with her kids, especially in math, because everyone knows she's the math person. And kids that have issues with math, I mean, having that person to do that extra tutoring. I've also seen her on weekends and after hours tutoring students in the collegiate program and the high school, not just the collegiate, but in the collegiate program. And that's I think, I wish TJ had a Miss Moss with him right now in college. Can you fly to Vermont, please?
No, let's do calls.
Okay.
She puts up with me texting her at all hours and
Yeah.
emailing at all hours. So yes, she is
The
part of the secret.
the time management that the students are learning and the confidence that they are attaining going to that next level is something that can't be graded. And I think it's something that is a huge positive benefit. The thing that I think that we need to really, as a board, just celebrate is that if they have a 3.0, that they can go to Florida Gulf Coast for 3 years. So for what that means for us is that's a master's degree. They could, if they get their 2 years degree before they graduate from high school, they could go 2 years for 2 years at Florida Gulf Coast, and typically would get their master's in a year. So they would have a master's degree, and everything would be paid for. So that is outstanding. And I haven't done anything. I haven't spoke of that yet because I didn't know it was 100%.
So every year we do have to sign that deal with FGCU, so that has been signed for this year, so it's good. We've been doing it now for 3 years or 4 years. Since its inception, so as long as that MOU continues to be renewed, and it has to be renewed by FGCU and us. But really, to be frank, FGCU wants these students because they are completers. And much like you have a school grade, we do too, and we're assessed by degree completion. Do they finish out that AA, bachelor's, master's? So when they get someone in a program and they know they're gonna complete because they have a proven record, then that's why they are doing these scholarships for your students.
And I would just also like to thank you for being such an advocate for our students. And you know, you said a term, geographically challenged students. That is so, in our county, with it being so widespread, it is so important that we offer the educational opportunities for all students, not just for Moore Haven students, but for our students that live in Muse and our students that live in Buckhead and Lakeport and Palmdale. So truly appreciate everything that FSW has done, and also to this board, because you all have made this possible, and the funding, making sure that it's a possibility, because it is a lot of money. And it's a lot of money, but it's money well spent. So congratulations, and I am beyond excited to watch this program grow, to see what, you know, I can't wait to see like 10 years from now. That's what I can't wait till our first group has their bachelor's. That's kind of where I'm looking at, so.
Well, that will be in 1 year.
Yeah,
That's
I know, that's
You don't have to
crazy.
wait too long, 1.5 years.
Okay. You'll be first. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I have one question.
Sure.
Is that okay? So I support the program, I love it, you know, I was involved in Clewiston, so I've seen it up close and personal. Ms. Moss, you're amazing, the way you handle the program, because I've been able to kind of compare. I feel like a lot of the success is because of you and who you are, and your mathematical skills as well. But just, you know, you want someone that kids want to be with. So the personality of the person in charge is super important, because if you were someone that our top kids did not want to be around and did not respect, we would not have the enrollment numbers that we have. So I credit you so much, and I appreciate, and you too. I mean, it's just,
The kids do all the work. I push some papers around.
yeah, but they love you, Amanda. I've heard them talk about you. They love you
When
too.
they're not terrified that I'm there to yell at them about grades, I'm back off when I show up.
Yeah. But I did want to ask one question, and that was, if we say 78,000 per class, and there's 20.
No, per semester.
That includes all the classes?
78,000 per semester is all 10 classes. And again, it depends on which faculty is teaching, if they have a PhD or adjunct. That number could flux a little bit, because the way they're calculating the charge, they are literally taking the faculty salary and dividing it by the number of classes, 10, that they teach over a semester, or they, you know. So depending on what degree level they have or years of experience, that could flux a little bit.
Right.
And then again, each semester, even though we do have the book repository, math, because it's so hard, has renewable, like a My Math Lab online. You have to buy those links. Every now and then there is a book edition change that is significant, or a book change, something goes out of print, you gotta buy a new class set. But so 78, I think, or even if you, I hated to say the word, the number 80, I think that's a safe bet. But even if you extrapolate that to 160,000, you look at that number that's well over 200,000 in FTE, not to mention the bonuses coming back in. But I know that's a big number, and I know that you probably will get asked about that number. So I will send, especially all the pictures, but the slide that has the FTE associated with these students, the amount of money that came in for our AA grads and could be the future number. I mean, you're almost over 300,000 when you add in 27 AAs to that FTE, if we were full on both levels. So that way in the community, if you're getting questions, you can say, actually, the FTE funding for these students goes to this program because we're not teaching them. Now, you are giving them breakfast and lunch, and I think you fund the coffee bar. But the caffeine is really the truth. You know, you can explain that you know, there would be hiring of high school staff, probably faculty, if these students went back into those rooms. Because it is a complicated picture, I get it. And I do know that students all say it's free, and you guys are like,
So just so I'm,
much like at my location when they say Purvis is free college, and I'm like, nope, there was a real human, that's real money. So
just so I'm straight, make sure I'm straight, 78 to 80 for 10 classes.
in one
Covers
semester.
one semester.
Yep, and then next
So if I
semester.
do that times 2, that's the yearly cost.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, that's based on the current salary and the
Right.
faculty that are there.
It's an estimation, I
Yeah.
got it. Okay, thank you.
The only thing else I want to say, and this isn't really directed to you two, but to the board and to our directors and to Dr. Daly, he's not here, but if he is going to go back and watch the meeting, is that the word has been said, you said it, Rosemary said it, but rigor. It's that we have to make sure that not just in the collegiate program, but that our students at the high school are getting rigor, because it shouldn't be that students don't have to worry about homework. They need to be, when they get ready to go into that collegiate program, they need to be prepared and ready to go. So,
And I would follow that, just so you know, several of our courses, number one, they are taught by full-time faculty who have taught at Lee campus, they teach at LaBelle, they teach at Moore Haven. Many of our courses have end of semester exams that are common finals.
Yeah.
So that biology final, for example, your students take that, so does every student who is DE or non-DE at Lee. Our Moorhaven and Clewiston students consistently achieve higher scores on an exam that is a common final than the department receives for all students total. So that's like an ACT at the end of the year that is comparable to any other college student. So it's not just that they're getting good grades because our faculty love them. They're getting good grades because they've had rigorous coursework that is comparable to any other college campus.
Well, thank you very,
Thank you.
very much for coming and presenting. We appreciate you and appreciate our two speakers as well.
I would like to say to the girls, it's very refreshing to see you stand up and talk freely in front of a group, and also know that you're practicing accountability for yourselves and helping others in your classes. You can't understand how refreshing it is to hear kids stand up and talk positive.
Amen.
Thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you.
I'm always available for questions about email.
Amanda, will you email me your PowerPoint, please?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. I'll show you.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch you go after bar too.
Oh, thank
Sit
you.
here and watch.
I told them they could leave after their part. They were troopers.
Okay. Item 3.1, approve proposed amendments to the agenda. And there are two amendments.
Make a motion to approve 2 amendments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment on agenda items. Any cards, Jackie? Okay. Consent agenda, there are 5.1, 5.5, and a motion for 5.6, if nobody has anything to pull.
I had some questions about 5.2, so I guess we need to pull that so I can ask my questions.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I'll take a motion for the rest of them.
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
A second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Crystal, 5.2.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the 5-year work plan.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay.
So my question, I did speak with Mr. Gresseth about it yesterday, and I just wondered if he was able to get an answer to my question. Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna give you a slightly amended 5-year work plan, slightly. I'll
Okay.
explain why I did that.
Is there a color code or a way for
I'll
us
just
to
have
know?
a page on it.
Okay.
It came to my attention, well, first of all, the 5-year work plan is really not, it's really just a plan on what you foresee you're going to use your 1.5 million for over this year and the 4 years coming forward. It's not etched in stone by any means. And in all honesty, I do this plan looking at what I perceive and others perceive our costs are gonna be and the needs of the district. I honestly have never seen a budget for this funding. So and I've been here 2 years now. I haven't seen a budget for this millage funding. I haven't seen a budget for the impact aid grant, which is part of this as well, because it's money that goes towards facilities, and I've never seen a grant. I've never seen actually the ending budget of what's happening with our school safety at $42,000 we get from school safety. So when I do this, I look at it and I say, okay, I know that I've been sending in purchase orders for this much every year for fire alarms, for HVAC, for carpeting, for tile, for all different areas that I'm over. The question that Ms. Drake had was, we had land acquisition. We purchased a piece of property on the north side of the high school. We're planning on using that. I believe, because I really haven't been in the planning of this, I believe we're going to be using that as like an overload parking area, possibly for like for graduation and football games and stuff like that, which I probably should be in that conversation, because that's something that I need to make sure that I'm budgeting for, if we're gonna be paving that area, if we're gonna be refencing that area, if we're gonna be putting gates in there, if I need to put walkways in there of some sort. But I'm sure that'll come down the line, and as this plan moves forward, there can be adjustments. Within this, but go back to your question, land acquisition, that couple $100,000, or $300,000 for that purchase of that land, actually did come out of this funding. It came out of carry forward money. Again, I had no clue, and it's probably a good thing I didn't have a clue, because I probably would have spent it on 2 more air conditioning buses instead of buying that property. Just being honest. But so what I did, when I talked to Carol, our finance person right now, she told me that came out of that money, and she's taking it actually out of this year's money, because there wasn't a line item in the 5-year plan for that. So what I did is I added a line item on page 3 on the bottom, and it just says purchase land for high school parking lot expansion. And what I did is I only used an amount of $22,295 out of this year's money. That's actually what was left in the budget. Previously, if you looked through this, you saw that we had that much money that was unencumbered at that time or within that budget. So I added in there so it zeroes it out for this year. So that is the change in that.
So it's financed?
I'm sorry?
That property is financed?
That property is purchased with money that we had.
Okay.
It was in the budget. My thoughts were it came from the general fund, but from talking to Carol, it actually came from this millage that we had left over.
Well, I know that all of you said that you've never seen it for 5-year plan. For 20 years, I passed those plans, and Jenny's been there too, that we had money that we would put for different things. Most of it was roofing, and a lot of it was technical stuff too, computers and
just so you know that, this, even though this money is put in these different pockets, excuse me, there may be something that comes up that we have to take care of, and we can easily move that money around. It's not actually in any certain budget line items that I know of.
But you did say that Carol said, because it wasn't on here,
That's why
that was a problem.
Yes,
So it'd be better to have everything more than we need on here,
yes,
so that it can be spent if we need it. That's
true.
okay.
And as you peruse through this, you'll see that the year 2, which is next year, and actually the 2 years after that, we have already put in money that we're hoping to go back to the state, because if we are to receive special facilities funding in the spring, and it's looking good right now, and it's actually looking good, possibly that we could get, instead of funding over 3 years, that we might get totally funded in 1 year. That
Wow.
may happen.
that hasn't happened with any of our
That
projects.
doesn't happen with any projects, no, but
No.
I'm hearing news about that possibility. And I don't want to get our hopes too high, but that'd be a great Christmas present. But in order to receive that funding, we have to provide 1 mil of our tax money back to the state. So in essence, what we're looking at, and 1 mil for us is a little less than $1 million, to be quite honest. We actually received 1.5 mils, and we also, within that money that we use for funding facilities and maintenance, we also received that Impact 8 grant, and this Impact 8 grant, I'm just saying because you're new here.
I wrote it down,
Yeah.
I'm thinking I gotta look this up.
Impact 8 grant is a grant from the federal government and really it gives funding to districts or areas that lose out on funding due to lands being federally owned. In our case, and it includes, like, there's a military base that's within your county or whatever, you don't generate any kind of tax base from that because it's all federal land. And so what they do is they actually provide funding in lieu of that. And for us, it's the Brighton Seminole Indian Reservation, which we receive about $400,000 a year from the federal government for that.
Which they get a big portion of.
No, they don't get any of that. That's a federal thing.
I thought that was the big controversy last year.
It was a controversy though, but they don't get a part of that. I've talked to the federal grant people.
That's great news.
They have
I
been
thought we
getting it
owed
the
them
last
money.
8 years.
I don't think they.
No, they didn't.
That's what they were arguing
That's what they were
about.
arguing about.
They were stating that they had not received it and they should have.
Yeah,
So
because
what
we
is
are
it that they're getting?
we are the LEA, we provide services to,
But we don't, if it's given to us and then we give it to them, and we get to keep a portion of it.
No. We keep the majority of it. They get a proportionate share of the FDFP.
No, I was talking about the
That's FFP.
portion of their,
That's
of
an FFP
it
grant.
that's theirs.
But
We
that's
get
separate
to-
from the grant.
But the
Yeah.
impact, we keep all of that.
Right, which, that's great news.
It is
I
great news,
I didn't realize, I thought we were
Yeah.
still trying to work out what we owed them.
no, well, as
Okay.
the LEA of,
It makes
of- of-
sense
of
though,
them, yeah,
when you
because we
describe
provide
what it's
services
for.
them, Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's great news, that's great news.
So, any other questions on?
I'm good,
on your work plan?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Okay, all in
Thank you
favor?
very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. On to the amended agenda. 7.1, approval of additional changes in the human resources hires, resignations, and/or transfers.
I make a motion to approve the additional changes in the human resources hires, resignations, and/or transfers.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
General public comment? None? Board member comments?
Did we do
Skip
7.2?
Oh, okay, well, I was just gonna breeze on along. 7.2, approval of additions to the Glades County School District guest teacher list for 2022. Adding one person.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now general public comment, which there's none. 9.1, board member comments. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes. Merry Christmas, don't go too fast. There's flowers out here for some of y'all, and I have stuff in my car that I wanna bring in.
Oh, thank you, Pat.
You're welcome.
Crystal?
Well, I wanted to ask Dr. Barfield, so they mentioned the state civics literacy test, and I don't know what that is, so I was gonna ask you to explain it during your comments, if you would, please.
Okay.
And, I just wanna thank the directors, several of them I called prior to the board meeting today with questions about agenda items. And Dr. Barfield, they are so cooperative and take time out of their busy schedules to answer my probably annoying questions. And I just really appreciate the staff that you have and their willingness to work with us. And I want them to know I appreciate your time, so thank you. And Doreen, you missed my call because you were gone.
I know about it.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to bother you, so he handled it for me, but I appreciate you as well, thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Kim?
Yes, ma'am. I do have a question regards to SOPs and speech therapy. I spoke to Ms. Boyles. If you don't mind just touching on some of the questions that the parents had.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Okay, so, here in Glades County, we do have, our SLPs are teleteachers, they're contracted through teleteachers. We've advertised, a lot for, in-person SLP, speech and language pathologist, but we have not gotten any applicants. So our teleteachers, we started doing this, I guess it was the previous year before me. We had 3 ladies that were tremendous. They were great, they were wonderful, they came in. 2 of them left. They were moving to different areas. So we were down to 1 SLP for the district. So I've been working really hard with teleteachers. They're phenomenal. Carla, she's the director. She's been in contact with the schools. We now have onboarded 5 teleteachers. 3 are full-time, 2 are part-time, because at this time of year, it's kind of hard to get somebody that's already, one of them's in the New York City Public Schools, so she does the afternoons, and then we have another one from Connecticut that does the mornings, so they kind of switch. But we do have a para at each school that goes in and collects our students and takes them to a room where they receive their speech services. I have been, and we had wrote on the progress reports at the beginning of the year that yes, services were interrupted or didn't take place due to staffing issues, but we are guaranteeing parents that those compensatory services are going to be made up, and even if they have to do it through the summer months. But we're fully staffed. Like I said, we have the paras that are coming on board. We have 1 at West Glades that will be that we're still waiting for. But the other schools have a para at every school, and they go in and collect the students and take them to their speech classes. So, but Carla has said, she's working with the teachers, and as far in the staff, the principals, and the guidance counselors, and they're making their schedule, making sure that everybody's, their schedules are corrected, everything's good, and after Christmas, we should be rolling out with the full staff, so. And she guarantees everybody will get their services.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate everything you're doing. I know the people that have had questions and contacted you, they're appreciative of what's going on, and everybody understands that the hiring is not easy right now, especially with some of the specialties that we're asking for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we
So
still advertise for live people?
I think, yes, we are. Yeah, we are. My thinking is after January, I wanted to do some recruitment, maybe going out to some of the colleges to see if they have SLPs that are going to be graduating that have these programs, trying to reach out and make a connection with maybe FSW, FGCU, some of the colleges to see if we can kind of pull some people in.
Do they have internships for those programs?
I was thinking yes. I know, also, I think it's Nova, it may be Nova University also has those programs. So getting in contact, that's gonna be one of my big things I wanna do before the end of the year, is I wanna make sure that even though teleteachers does a great job, I still feel like I would like that in person and trying to reach out to those universities to see if we can contract, get some
At our
of those kids
conference,
in.
they talked about teacher recruitment and how important it is to get those relationships with the colleges and provide the internship, because that's when they need you, and then you can reciprocate by offering a job to those interns. So that would be a great avenue to maybe get some help.
And I think one of the issues that we're running into is since COVID, a lot of the SLPs can go work privately, or they can contract out and work from home, and they can make more money than they are in the school district. So that's one of the reasons why we're seeing such a shortage in those specialty areas. So, but we're doing everything we can, and like I said, we're ready to hit the ground running, and then come January, February, we're gonna start looking for in-person for the following year.
Do you know if there's a bridge program or anything where a certified classroom teacher could take the courses they need to add speech and language to their certificate? That maybe we could recruit a teacher at one of our schools that has an interest in that and say, we have a job for you. If you can take these courses, and
Yeah, that's
and
true.
move into that, then it's easier to replace a classroom teacher.
Absolutely, and maybe that's something that we need to look at. I don't know what the program is. I know it's a specialty program.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would work with the colleges, but that's definitely something we could look into.
If they could get
It's a
a
good idea.
master's in speech and
Yeah.
language pathology, continue teaching and do the master's program and then move into that position. you know, and then we would reimburse for their tuition, correct?
Correct.
Isn't that,
Yeah, that would be a great, I think that would be a
we
great
could
idea.
advertise that with our teachers, let them know, you know, maybe somebody has an interest in that. Maybe they're tired of being in the classroom all the time and wanting to do
Right.
something different. Plus, if you get a master's degree, you get a boost in your salary.
That's true.
That's a great
I
idea.
think that's an absolute great idea.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Every once in a while, I have
Patty, you have any questions?
I do
No.
have.
Oh, you have one more, okay.
I've been, trying to get the word out about some of the, the jobs that are available. And I got a call yesterday that our website was not showing any jobs available at this time. I contacted HR. Some of the website at the time just wasn't cooperating. So they did say that if at any time that happens, you can also look at K12jobspot.com. Is that correct? I just want to make sure everybody's able to find our job opportunities and be able to apply correctly.
Right, so I just kind of wanted to speak on this, because when you called me yesterday and notified me about this, it had come up at one point in time. I just happened to be on there, and I was like, it's not working, and at the time I went to Jackie, I'm like, can you pull something up? And she pulled it up, no problem. But when you called me, I was like, okay, there's definitely something going on here. I think it's with Frontline Education, and that's who actually powers that K-12 job spot webpage. So I'm reaching out to them to let them know that if you're using Google Chrome or a mobile device, that their website is not pulling up our job openings for our area. Now, if you use Microsoft Edge, there's no problem. That's not I say unfortunately because it's not something that we can just go in and fix and there's no issue. And then also because it's not like we can tell anyone throughout the state of Florida or in our community, hey, don't use Google Chrome or your phone, use Microsoft Edge. Now, if they call me, then absolutely, we always walk them through the process. Worst case scenario is that I have them come in and either me or my secretary or whoever's available at the time will sit down with them and walk them through the process and applying. But they have to contact us and let us know so we can do that for them or help them with it.
So Gabby, I have a question. So, but our website, we do have control over. So did you say that they
It was
could?
the Glades County.
Well, it is, but it's not. So whenever you click on the click to apply, it actually takes you to teacher-teacher,
Okay.
which is Frontline Education,
Okay.
which is K-12 job spot.
What about the HEC site? Do we not participate in the HEC site? Because I know a lot of people, teachers looking for jobs use that.
Yeah, so it's linked. So the link on our website works. It's the jump to that goes from that to the Teachers Be Teachers that's wonky sometimes. But the new Blades website will launch in January, and so it will be all new then. But it's not on our side that it doesn't always show. It does that to me sometimes. Sometimes I clear my cache and it'll work. But again, it's not on the Blades side of things. It's on the K-12.
But with the HEC website, are we still there? Can you apply there for Glades
It'll
County?
take you to the Blades website.
Okay.
Right, so.
But then you're gonna go to this
You still go
K-12.
to K-12, right?
You
So
always
I-
so
end
it's
up
not
at
gonna work.
K-12 regardless of which door you go
Yes,
in.
regardless of which door you decide to go through, it's still gonna redirect you to the K-12 website, which also is the teacher-teacher website. So like I said, I have reached out to Frontline Education and hoping to just, the only thing I can do is notify them, hey, you know, your website's not compatible with these web browsers, you know, so.
But on our
that's-
own website, we could list our openings and say, call you, right? I mean,
Yes, we could do
we
that, so
want
that
people to-
that is an alternative that I am, I have a meeting, with Dr. Barfield, after this, and that was something that we were gonna discuss, because we need something.
Yeah, because we're needing teachers. If it's not user-friendly to apply for a job with us, we're losing them.
100% agree, and then we are also working on a different application system. We have Skyward, and we're me and Whitney and Lindsay, we have already discussed it. It's a project a huge project that we're working on, and so we're hoping to have that launched, soon.
Oh, that'd be great. So that Skyward offered,
Skyward offers application services, so then we can drop frontline education. But we're working on there's projects that we're working on in order to make that happen.
well, that would be great.
Yes.
Thank you, Gabby.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Also tonight is Christmas on the Caloosahatchee, as well as West Glades Christmas pageant. So if y'all are out and about, make sure to see all the kids and have fun. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Got it?
Merry Christmas.
Okay.
I already said mine.
Okay.
There's a few people that have
Okay.
some poinsettias down there from me.
Okay, Jean?
Just Merry Christmas. Enjoy your time off. Take some time off. Enjoy your families. Don't make her make you come to
Yeah,
work.
don't let her.
Don't let her be a slave driver.
They're all coming, they're all coming.
Hey, I have one more thing I just thought
Okay.
of. So Miss Wills, I don't know if you guys have been following her elf TJ on Facebook, but oh my gosh, that's so funny. Thank you I'm sure that was a lot of work to do that. So the kids are loving it. Well, whoever did it on your staff, it's really cute. The kids have enjoyed it. I ask my grandkids every day, what did TJ do? So,
He's good now. And
he turned good, right?
I go out into public and people who don't even have kids that are at school are asking about telephones.
Yeah, it's been a great PR. It's been a great PR move. really.
Except for my mother-in-law,
Oh, okay, she was
who
offended.
called me very upset, and wanted me to, she's coming up, which that's scary. She's gonna drive up to my house at night because she thinks she needs to sit down with me and Thomas and TJ and have a conversation. It's not okay for what he's doing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, you're okay with him damaging and vandalizing? And I'm like, he's in Vermont. She thought that TJ was my TJ, but anyway.
Well,
So we
I
had a
thought
little
that's where the name
confusion,
came
little
from, maybe.
confusion. Could you please? TJ needs a new name. So,
There's short for his full name, which I don't even remember what it is. Tinsel Jeans Tinson or something.
okay.
Oh, that's funny.
Is it my turn?
Yes, superintendent's report.
All right, so in 2021, legislation stated that anyone that's enrolled in a U.S. government class has to take that test. And if you were a student that's in a collegiate program, you have to pass it to get your AA. So
Does it count for the regular kids as high school
Yes.
graduation requirement?
yes, ma'am.
Is it just a percentage of their grade, like geometry?
I don't
or
think
is it a
I don't
pass
think
fail?
it is. I don't think it's a
I think the other ones are 30%.
percent. I think the other one is, but I don't think this one is. But I know they have to, in the
Have
collegiate
to sit
academy,
for it.
they have to pass it.
Wow.
So, the only thing I had, three things actually. Our joint meeting, is January the 9th, at the Moorhaven Middle High School Community Room. And you should have already received an invitation, on your computers for that. And then also January 10th at 5:30 at the auditorium is our Teacher of the Year banquet.
Now, is that gonna be a banquet or just like hors d'oeuvres?
Hors d'oeuvres and, yes ma'am,
Like we did last year?
yes ma'am,
Are we doing the golden apple?
yes ma'am.
Okay.
Dr. Barfield, for the joint meeting, have you thought about doing a presentation for our new school to the other boards? That was kind of what I was thinking, that I wanted for us to present, hey, this is what we're doing, we need your help with this. What were your thoughts on what we're gonna say and do at the joint meeting?
So to be completely honest, I haven't really thought a lot about it. I haven't, Mr. Gresseth and I have not sat down yet to talk about what we wanted to present about the new school to them. I think it would be really good that we do our presentation that we did for the state board.
And even copies of our pamphlet.
Absolutely.
Would be great if we could get those out.
So, but we really haven't.
Maybe a condensed version, you may not
Right.
have to go into as much detail, but That's what I think we should do, that's just my opinion, but.
Is there an agenda, like as far as have you,
I asked Jackie to prepare an agenda, and it's very generic. It's
Okay.
just like, we'll be up, and then they'll be up, and then the actual topics are not on there.
okay,
Greg Kelly's been, our architect's been in there as well.
Oh, good. Because, I just want the board to know that, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting your presentation, I apologize.
oh my gosh, I'm
But,
so upset.
I should have thought of this when I had my turn, but I asked for this meeting because we had one a couple years ago. We have new members now, and they have new members. And to me, it's really important that our board works in conjunction with the city and the county, and that we're all working towards the same things and the same goals. And so if we're not communicating them and we're just going by what we hear on the street, then we're not all working together. And one thing that I do want to talk about, and I'll be glad to explain this at the meeting, is that for our legislative platforms, they need to know what our asks are in Tallahassee, and we need to know what their asks are, so that when we go and we're meeting with our people that are their people, that we're all saying, well, in Glades County, we need a new school, our county's looking for sewer additional money, our city is working on downtown improvement, or whatever. But I just want us to have a sheet of paper that we all take together, and we kind of present a united front in Tallahassee, where we know what they're wanting, they know what we're wanting. That's, to me, what we've been kind of lacking, and where sometimes the friction exists between us and other boards is just because we're not talking. We're not
Well, we
communicating.
always have in the past, but Mike's not here anymore, and I don't think that Mr. Ahern has that position that he had before as well, does he? But they've always backed each other up. But we haven't had anything that we really needed in the last 2 years, like we will in the future. But that we've always tried to be on the same page and support each other.
I'm done.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, and then, just wanna say this, just for the directors as well and for the board. If you haven't done so, please really keep your attention on what's going on across the state with boards and superintendents. Just yesterday, a sitting superintendent was fired, and, it's caused a lot of shockwaves across the state. The week before, another superintendent was fired, and right now, education is under a lot of things that have never happened before, and there's a lot of decisions being made. And if now more than any, we need to be very much advocates of public education, because it's scary what's happening. And I think what Board Member Drake stated about us having a unified front, I think what we're gonna see, and this is just my opinion is, but from everything I've been reading and just talking to fellow superintendents, right now, it seems like everyone wants to do away with public education. And so when we can make a unified front with our county and our city, we're a small community, a small county, and a lot of people don't really listen for our views and our opinions and our ideas. But we have, so when we do go together and we do go to Tallahassee, or we do speak to our delegation, we need to have a very strong message. Because if they can do in public education what they're doing in some of the larger counties, what they can do in our small county is scary. So just ask you to read as much as possible. I know Ms. Prolant just gave y'all like this long vacation, y'all take off this Christmas vacation, but try to keep reading and keep abreast on what's going on, because I spoke yesterday with Senator Montford, and a lot more fixing to happen, and it's scary. It's a scary time to be a superintendent, and it's a scary time to be on a school board. So, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and all that. And I'm just really thankful, and I'm very hopeful. I see a lot of great things happening, and some some wonderful things in our schools are happening, and so I hope everyone has a great new year.
I want to comment on what you were talking about, public education. I think everybody on the board knows that I'm very involved with my church and have a very strong Christian faith. And I just finished reading a book by a Christian author, and I was shocked at the things he had to say about public education. And in this book, he actually advocated for doing away with public education. Send your kids to Christian schools, send your kids to private schools. That is scary to me because I have always been a proponent of public education. I don't think kids can get any better education in a private school than they do in our public schools. And when I read authors that I have respected for their faith and their beliefs, and they're saying, don't send your kids to public schools, that scares me.
Me too.
Well, and the whole movement of politicizing school board elections, where on the ballot it will say whether you're Republican or Democrat, that's part of that movement as well, too, so that the public can vote for school board members based on their political party instead of a nonpartisan approach to education. So, I mean, I understand the pros and cons of that. I haven't really fully made my mind up about how I feel about that yet, because I do see some positive from knowing the political party of a school board member, but it really is. You know, they've been saying for 20 years, there's a movement to get rid of public education. I've been hearing that for 20 years, but there really is.
And it's getting more
Yeah.
and more powerful.
Yes, it is.
You know, 20 years ago, you heard a little bit about
Yes.
it, but it is out there now.
Yeah, because Christians are gonna be encouraged to put their children in private schools.
Absolutely.
That's the movement right now.
That's the movement.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll just say this, and then we need to end the meeting, because I know my directors want to get back to work. You know, like I said, speaking to a couple of superintendents last night, and then also reading what people were saying about what happened down in Collier County, it's scary. And it's scary that can occur. And I think right now the feeling is there's the stability of it is a worry, a huge worry. And so.
And that affects us,
it affects-
because they are over ITech, which is in our
Absolutely.
county.
Sure.
So it does
Absolutely.
have an effect on us as well.
And absolutely. So,
Where our home is, people ask me, you know, you have a choice, where are you sending your kids, to Okeechobee or Glades County? Well, I sent them, the oldest one was in 4th grade whenever he left, and the rest of them were right behind that. But Cutter went to kindergarten there, and Caleb and Chase were through 3rd grade, to the Grace Christian School, the private school in Okeechobee. And then whenever they got older, and I thought that Cutter would be old enough that his brothers could take care of him, to ride that 30-mile ride from the house to down to here. Everyone asked me, why are you doing that? And I'm like, why aren't you sending them to a private school? I said, I am. I said, and you know what, down there, a majority of the teachers are cousins or family. He gets to go to school, they get to go to school with all their cousins and everything else. And I've always felt that with us having the people that live in our district, that everybody's connected. Not so much anymore, but there was a time that everybody was connected or married to, or something of someone that you know or were related to. But I feel like it's still that way.
Anybody else? Thank you, everyone. I'll adjourn the meeting.